and welcome to the Revolut Insider podcast, where we take a look at Revolut from the inside out, one episode at a time. I'm your host, Alex Carril, and joining me today is product owner Francesco Bovo.
Hi, Alex. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Francesco?
Very well. Thanks for calling me here.
Thank you for being on the show with us and taking your time to share your insight about product design and what you're doing here at Revolut.
Amazing.
And I know that you, as a product owner, have worked in different areas. So I wanted to get your insight into how you work with product design to empower users by taking a look at some of the projects you've worked on, like donations and now RevPoints.
Yes, I'll be happy to share my experience in this field because it's something that I really care about.
Well, when we caught up, you mentioned starting your career with an online fashion company, helping to simplify the shopping process. What did you learn early on about how to make these complex experiences easy for customers?
The biggest learning that I had at the early stages of my career, where I started familiarizing with delivering user experiences, was how something that would appear as a simple simplification can achieve large results for users and businesses. So simple UX, when done well, often goes unnoticed because things flow as they should be. But what happens in the user's mind is a positive association with that moment, that feeling of things flowing as they should be, and you end up achieving what you wanted to achieve and do what you want to do without effort, like technology was an extension of your own mind. So this skill can really drive outcomes that are positive for the user and for the businesses who serve them.
Definitely. And how did you bring what you learned from that experience before to Revolut when you started working on the donations team?
I was a part of the first dedicated team to the product, which was a signal that Revolut really cared about this aspect of what a personal financial app could do. Donations product is a very great feature within the Revolut app that allows customers to send money instantly to a group of nonprofit organizations that we work with. So the purpose of donation is to allow users to fund causes they care about, which means supporting the change they want to see in the world. So to realize their idea of doing good or making the world a better place. The first thing that I wanted to ensure when taking over this product was that representation of causes. And given that Revolut customer base is broad and diverse, we need to have this diversity represented in the causes we were enabling them to fund.
Of course.
The initial simplification was achieving these results where customers could come in the app and see that the cause that they cared about was there and they could easily support it in the way where they want. One of the most impactful examples of how this product could be relevant was during emergency appeals, like the Turkey-Syria earthquake or the escalation of the Ukraine conflict. That really gave me perspective on the role that financial companies can have in delivering positive outcomes for the society.
Definitely.
So what I wanted to do there is ensure that this happened in the most seamless way possible.
And it has been quite successful, this work that you and the team have done, because you've helped raise over £10 million for charities and nonprofits. For those that are also in product development, what's one skill you think is essential for building products that make a difference in customers or users' lives?
In order to be successful at this role, you need not only to be able to visualize how success looks like, also you need to achieve a deeper understanding of why it matters that you're successful. You need to perfectly be connected with the end goal and the values that that end goal represents. And if they resonate with you, that is the starting point from which you work backwards in defining the solution.
Is that the same approach that you took when you developed RevPoints? Because I know that's a project that you recently worked on.
Yes. So RevPoints as a project starts from the fundamental belief that Revolut is a great product for customers that help them living a better personal financial life and is going to be the number one truly global bank serving a customer's personal financial needs no matter where you live. So when you understand and believe in this, our role then becomes as a loyalty RevPoints team rewarding our customers for simply using the Revolut app. And that's what we want to drive because we believe that the Revolut app is going to drive positive outcomes for them.
That's what we hope, right? That people enjoy the way that they use their money and they get a bit of reward for doing that as well.
Exactly.
And how do RevPoints work?
So RevPoints is a loyalty program that rewards our customers with points that we call RevPoints, of course, for the main usages that you can make of the Revolut app. So you can earn points by spending with your card, upgrading your plan to a higher plan, reserving a hotel with our stays reservations product, or by completing specific actions in the app. And then once you have accumulated your points by simply using Revolut, you can then use them to enrich your real life experience. For example, they can be used to reserve the hotel for your next trip, or even to book a flight through our airline miles transfer program. You can book an experience to make your trip more memorable, as well as getting a series of shopping discounts for your everyday life needs.
It's nice to see Revolut as it's growing offer that now to customers. What was the hurdle you and your team had to overcome when developing or launching RevPoints?
It was definitely like deciding what was going to be the value that we wanted to deliver to our customers first. When coming up with a rewards program, you need to start from what would customers get out of it in the first place. And as I mentioned, we have a broad customer base that is very diverse and has very diverse needs. So when it comes to like developing a new product, which needs you want to start serving 1st? And that was the main challenge that we had at the beginning. We decided to look at travelers or our customers who use Revolut for travel first, because travel is a very big use case for Revolut. You know that that's how Revolut started, right? As a travel card that would eliminate conversion fees. So by starting with the travel benefits, we were sure to serve a core use case among our customers, from being able to redeem your points on a hotel reservation discount to the big partnership we have established with airline miles partners to ensure that we could provide immediate value for those customers who were already acquainted with what the frequent flyer programs were.
Definitely.
However, this is just how we got started. Travel is just the beginning, and we are working to serve many more needs that these points can be used for, starting from everyday shopping benefits.
And as you continue this journey of developing RevPoints further and maintaining this idea of chasing simplicity, right? How do you think an easy to use point system can change the way customers use Revolut?
I don't see RevPoints as aiming to change how customers use Revolut. We want to be like an invisible delighter that customers found just by being Revolut customers, just by using Revolut, because we believe that Revolut is the right product for them. Imagine that, for example, at the end of the month, you find that you can reserve a hotel, book a flight, or buy a new pair of shoes just because you're a Revolut customer. That is a nice cherry on top of a cake that is already pretty delicious.
You already have a great product, but now you're getting something more from it.
Exactly.
On that note, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Francesco, I want to ask you more about this idea of simplifying the complex.
Sounds great.
We'll be right back with more Insider Views. This podcast is brought to you by Revolut Ultra. Enter a world of exclusivity with the Ultra plan from Revolut. From world-class travel to supercharged savings, Ultra is your ultimate Revolut experience. Ultra is only available in the UK and the European Economic Area. Terms and subscription fees apply. And we're back on the Revolut Insider podcast, joined by product owner Francesco Bovo.
Hi, Alex.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Francesco, this theme of simplifying the complex that runs through your work, where did that mindset come from?
I think it comes from the fact that I myself am a consumer of products. I use solutions that organizations have built to serve my needs. So I could observe in first person how companies have come up with creative ways to make my life better or help me achieve what I wanted to achieve. So I've always been curious and fascinated by this process for tech and non-tech companies. So anything can be a product, anything is a product that helps you doing something, and has been behind everything. There has been many, many hours of like studying, of testing, of trying to understand how am I going to use or what problems I'm trying to solve in order to deliver this product to me. Not just because it was helping making my life better, but I was attracted as if it was a form of art.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be part of it.
This creative art of giving back.
Exactly.
And why is it important to focus on simplicity, especially in today's digital landscape where customers expect a seamless experience?
I think we need to acknowledge that modern life for individuals is much more chaotic than it used to be. So as individuals, we are subject to a insane amount of like stimuli or decisions to make or messages. And it becomes really hard to find peace and quiet in this overly exciting world. So if you want to design products as a human and not as a business or as a like a commercial person, the kindest thing you can do for your customers is requiring them the smallest amount of effort possible to help them so that they can use the aid that you're providing them. If this was done at scale by everyone, we would help reducing this mental weight that is put on the end consumers if every company that is building products does not apply enough due diligence on ensuring that their products are simple to use for customers.
As a product owner, when you use products that aren't as effortless, how does that make you feel?
The immediate reaction would be frustration because either I am the person that is trying to use that product or I empathize with the user that are trying it and go through this frustration. So the instinctive reaction would be to think, oh, this is how I would do it. And I often share this with the other colleagues in product that may not be familiar. You don't need to be familiar with the industry or with anything that relates to the product was trying to solve. But I like that there is a common thread of empathy across all product people that can enable us to speak about any solution that is out there. And I really enjoy conversation on how we think something could be made better.
You touched on this really key word, and I think this kind of resonates in the work that you do, which is empathy. Is that kind of what keeps you motivated and inspired in your work day to day, knowing you're making a difference somehow?
Empathy is what enables me to enjoy the outcomes that I drive and also gives me that reward back when I see that a solution that I put out there finally is doing something positive for the users of the product. I think it plays a big role in the success of every product person.
I think you have to have that empathy, that level of putting yourself in your customer's shoes in order to develop something that is going to work well. If you don't have, like you said earlier, like that ability to visualize how they're going to use it, I feel like that's where you kind of have these blocks where you may not anticipate any problems that a user might face in order to eliminate them in the design.
Yes, this is particularly done well at Revolut because at Revolut, the quality of the end result is extremely important. We set really high bars for what a good solution would look like, and we never settle for anything that is less than that. And this is really motivating because it's shared across the company, regardless of which department you're in or which product you're working on.
I agree. Do you think simplicity in product design is harder to achieve as technology evolves, or do new tools make it easier?
I think solving problems has been something that humans have been doing for ages. It has the same building blocks. So there is a problem I want to overcome, and I try to do it with finding a creative usage of the tools I have available at the moment. New technologies, I think, are potentially able to simplify this process for people who are trying to solve problems, but it requires them to sort of keep up to date or like remaining aware of whenever a new technology comes out, what usages could be, what positive usages there could be. And this is very important, I think, because understanding what would be the right usage, not just a new usage, is very important when it comes to new technologies. So potentially, yes, but it requires that step of like understanding whether that new technology can help you with the problems you're trying to solve.
It seems like obviously AI is definitely becoming more involved in product. Do you see that in your work as well?
Yes, but we always need to think about it as a mean, never to an end, and resist the temptation of jumping onto this new tool because it's the latest trend or because it's cool and makes a good marketing story. If it's instrumental to drive the positive outcome we want to drive, then definitely. But it's not mandatory to focus on that because it's a flashy new toy.
That's a good way to put it. And Francesco, you've shared so much about helping others navigate their experiences and providing value when they use features that you've worked on. When you're looking for inspiration or even a bit of grounding in your own life, where do you turn?
To get inspired, I find very helpful to diversify the environments you're in and the stimuli that you're exposed to. A big part of this job requires you having to like staring at the screen and being immersed into technology. And Revolut does already a great job at allowing its employees finding the best environment to work in because of its remote first policy. So wherever I am, I try to alienate myself from the tools that I use for work and immerse into something different. For example, printed books or graphic novels, which I'm a huge fan of.
Oh, neat. Yeah. What genre of graphic novels do you enjoy reading?
My room is almost filled with Japanese novels,
Oh, wow.
graphic novels or mangas and anything related to that. I'm a big fan, but I've also read a lot of American novels.
So, how do these graphic novels inspire you and inspire the work that you're doing?
I like when my mind gets stimulated with these fantasy stories that describe worlds or adventures that are very creative, very different from how we perceive reality on a day-to-day basis. This can push your mind to contemplate things on a whole different level, and it basically exceeds the boundaries of where your mind goes when you are working from your laptop and speaking with your colleagues about your daily work.
I think it is important to have that hobby, that escape that will allow you to come back to your work refreshed and ready to take on new challenges.
Yes, refresh is actually a really good word. I know that everyone have their own way to refresh their mind and come back with brand new energies. And graphic novels is one of my favorite ways to do so.
And let me ask you, Francesco, before we wrap up, what advice do you have for younger Francesco who was just starting out in his career?
I remember younger Francesco as someone who jumped into this career path with the urgency to like start seeing the impact that you wanted to drive, or start seeing the benefits and the results that you wanted to drive with your work, I would tell him that this process should not be rushed, because in order to get something really good out there, you will go through some failures, and that is perfectly fine. And that should not be something that makes you uncomfortable. As long as you keep being curious enough to learn from any mistake and you use it as guidance to ultimately get to where you want to get. So no rush. Great things come via trial and error.
And stay curious.
And stay curious.
Yeah, I love that. All right, Francesco. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today and for sharing your insight into what it takes to be a product owner here at Revolut.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.
And for those listening, you can add the podcast to your favorites so you don't miss an episode, and follow us on Instagram at Revolut Insider. Thanks for tuning in to the Revolut Insider podcast, where we take a look at Revolut from the inside out. Until next time, remember, the sky is not the limit. It's just the beginning. Revolut. Change the way you money.